Good morning. This is Rich Nass, and I am here for another round of 5 Minutes With. And today our guest is Martin Nuss, and he is the CTO of Vitesse. Hello, Martin. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. Hey, I just realized we have names that are very similar, so I don't think anybody ever confuses us, but I hadn't noticed that before. Anyway, okay. Well, we only have 5 minutes, so I don't want to waste it on that. Okay, so first question. You've been involved with Ethernet for a very long time, and Ethernet is one of those technologies that's just been around for a very long time, and that's not something that happens very often in our industry. Why has Ethernet been around so long and, still a very viable technology?
Well, Richard, it indeed has been around for actually over 40 years. But the reason it's been so successful is it is ubiquitous, it is highly scalable, and it actually is evolvable as well. So, just to give you a couple of examples, it's evolved in speeds, of course, from originally 10 megabits to 10/100, now gigabit, 10 gigabit, 100 gigabit, and actually right now we're in the final throngs of actually finalizing the 400 gigabit standard. So certainly speed is scalability, and speed is an important aspect. But also in terms of features, it's been very adaptable to new features that are relevant in different markets. And that is clearly the reason for its success. In particular, just recently, the Ethernet market has actually started to be very successful in the industrial and embedded space as well. And Ethernet has been flexible enough to adapt to that market and those market needs.
Okay. So I know we get this question all the time, but at what point do we bump up against the laws of physics with respect to Ethernet?
Well, luckily, so far the evolution of the speeds in the Ethernet standards has actually kept up with Moore's law and the silicon. Obviously, Vitesse as a silicon company, we are very aware of that, and so far, silicon has actually been able to keep up with the standards evolution very well. Okay.
Speaking of Vitesse, I saw on your website that you've coined the phrase Ethernet everywhere. Is that the industrial version of Internet of Things, or is it something like Industry 4.0, or is it something totally different?
It's actually much more than just the latest wave of Ethernet successes, and it's really been, for Vitesse, Ethernet everywhere has been a vision for actually a number of years. We started with that in 2008 timeframe, where obviously at that time Ethernet was primarily a local area LAN technology in the enterprise, and we saw that Ethernet was going to be very successful in the carrier wide area networks as well, and so we invested heavily in features, functionalities to make Ethernet successful in the wide area network, and that's clearly come to fruition. And then over the last 2 years, we've actually seen Ethernet being adopted to replace legacy semi-proprietary protocols in the industrial IoT space. So that's really the latest industry that's been embracing Ethernet. And there's another one, by the way, around the corner, which is automotive Ethernet. There's predictions that by 2020, several hundred millions of Ethernet ports are going to be deployed in cars alone, primarily for not just for infotainment, but for collision avoidance system, advanced driver assist, as it's called, and all the other systems that intelligent systems that need to be connected in a car. That actually compares to about 400 million LAN Ethernet ports deployed today. So those are actually significant numbers. So the market's Ethernet has really been evolving from the LAN to the WAN, industrial IoT networks, automotive storage is another market that we see going towards Ethernet in the near future.
Well, you just opened up a whole new potential can of worms. In one of my previous interviews, we had a discussion about the standards bodies for automotive and who should be responsible for setting these safety standards. So if you want to use Ethernet in the automobile for mission-critical things, is that something that the government would have to get involved to regulate?
I honestly can't talk about the whether the government should be involved in that. I can only talk about the technology. One of the ones, and it speaks to the flexibility and evolution of Ethernet. So the IEEE is actually in the process of standardizing what's called time-sensitive network, where the Ethernet network is actually being timed, and packets can be delivered at a certain time with nanosecond, microsecond accuracy, or within a certain time frame. So that will be very, very important for mission-critical applications inside the car, on the system bus and collision avoidance, anti-lock brakes, and so on. I can't talk about whether the government, how and when the government is going to get involved in that. But certainly the technologies are being developed, and they will be there.
So would you be comfortable driving a car based on Ethernet?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Well, if it's good enough for you, it's good enough for me. Unfortunately, our 5 minutes is up. So I want to thank you. That was Martin Nuss, the CTO of Vitesse. Thank you very much, Martin. Appreciate your time.
I appreciate your time. Thanks for listening.